Botha van der Vyver is the CEO of JustSolve, and he joins us for this edition of What's Next. And it's lovely to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Aki.
How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. Yeah,
No, it's a great pleasure. Now, listen, you're the founder of JustSolve. You've been in the business for 20 years. Digital transformation runs through your blood. How have you seen, before we start, like digital transformation happening since COVID? Because I know it accelerated dramatically, right?
Yes.
Has it settled down, or is it still going on? I imagine that, with AI and everybody talking about generative AI, that it's not stopping at all.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like throwing, petrol on water and oil on water. So the moment you think it dies down, it just flames up again.
Yeah.
So definitely we saw a big uptake in COVID in healthcare and other industries, communicating with patients, solving real problems when traditional organizations started realizing that they not necessarily in touch with their patients, and how do they actually going forward create those relationships and have those touch points to reach out to a patient or to anyone within the healthcare profession and the service providers. Then in the last 2 year, we definitely saw a little bit of a downturn, but this last couple of months or this last year with GPT-3 and GPT-4 coming out and AI becoming more mainstream, all of those things do definitely keep the flame going, and it's not going to die down anytime soon.
No, it's interesting. And what you guys are doing at JustSolve is absolutely fascinating. So we're going to talk about pro code and the low code gap, and we're going to talk about how businesses can empower themselves and unlock tremendous value using the tools that we're going to be talking about today. But touching on AI, and you're 100% right. I mean, AI has just become so sexy this year with ChatGPT, but the reality is that AI has been around for a while. But there's so many different products now, and people are realizing, hang on a second, we can unlock tremendous value in our business if we do this properly. So can you explain to us how AI and low-code development kind of intersect in the context of, say, software development? Because it's very different, and I think people don't quite understand that nuance, right?
Yeah, definitely, Aki. I think if you look back at businesses, they are very good in defining their business models and seeing gaps in the market, address a market need. And that's what digital transformation is all about, is ultimately serving the customer and the customer experience the best of your ability through all of the touch points. So how do you stitch together an end-to-end customer experience that doesn't leave your customer disappointed at any of those touch points? And how do you continue the conversation across all of those channels and touch points?
Because there's a lot of complexity, right? But how do you bring that together to make sense so that you can deliver that customer experience?
So firstly, when a company starts on their digital transformation journey, they need to form a strategy, right? And there's management consultants that can help with those strategies. But what they're often lacking is the execution of that strategy. Who's going to implement it? That's where we come in. So we come in at the point where we say, okay, let's go through a consultative process. Let's work together with you on your strategy that you've already defined. And where do you need help? Let's advise you on that journey of implementing it correctly. So we seek to, we call it subtract before we add. And by that, we always, that speaks back to our core ethos of writing the least amount of code to solve a problem. So ultimately, we call ourselves solvers in JustSolve. So we try and solve a problem without writing code.
Just solve it.
Just solve it.
Just solve it.
Yes. So we write code when it's needed, but and if it's needed, we write the least amount of code to solve the problem.
So you what you said earlier is interesting. You stitch it all together, right?
Yes.
And that's the big thing over there, because you can't have it in different silos.
No. And once you've stitched it together, then comes back to your previous question, actually, comes the concept of a trend called hyper-automation.
Yes.
So under hyper-automation, under that umbrella of automation, you get AI, you get low-code, and you get RPA, the robotic process automation, as an example. Now, if you say, like, AI has been around for a long time, it is. I mean, I had that at university as a subject in my 4th year. So, that is not something new to us in the software development industry. It is new in terms of being mainstream, of course, and being accessible for businesses to actually create real use cases. But Thinking back to the RPA concept, for instance, we as developers, we've written many screen scraping tools over the years. A screen scraper, back in the days, we were working for a company where we had to collect debt. And in collecting debt, you have to make sure that the person is still alive. Otherwise, why would you try and collect debt if the person is deceased?
Yes.
Now, there wasn't any integrations into Home Affairs, for example. So we wrote these screen scrapers, which is basically there's a browser that goes onto a website and mimics the actions of a user. So it goes and it enters on the Home Affairs website the ID number in question, then presses the submit or the click, and then it waits for the web page to refresh to have the text label say deceased or alive. And then we read that and we update the database to say whether the person
you
is...
collect all those little cookies and make sense of them, eh?
Yeah, but now that someone took and they put a configuration tool and a platform around that, and they put authentication and configuration, and they made it accessible to enterprises, and they called it RPA.
Okay.
It's the same now with AI. The building blocks has been there for a very long time.
It's so interesting. I mean, where do you see the future of AI and low code development going? And you know, when you look at it in the context of what you guys do at JustSolve and where you know develop software and that sort of thing, where's the future going?
Okay, so firstly, on the low code, to understand what low code is,
Yes.
it's important before I get to where it's going. So if you think about any machine, when we went over from the analog world to the digital world,
Right.
digital works with ones and zeros, and those ones and zeros are represented by voltages on or off.
Okay.
But it's quite difficult, as you can imagine, for a human to express themselves in a natural language, trying to code in ones and zeros. So over the years, people have created abstraction layers to make programming in a more natural way more accessible. So it's very important to understand how those layers stack up, because the complexity is just abstracted away. It doesn't go away. It just, the end user that uses it, or the developer that uses it, doesn't realize all of the complexity. Like in C, you still had to dispose of your own objects when you code, and you had to manage your memory pointers and all of those things, right? So in C#, you don't have that. The garbage collection, everything's taken care of for you. You don't even know about that anymore. So these low-code platforms are now just putting another abstraction layer above the normal managed libraries that the developers today use anyway, with a visual interface on top of them.
Yes.
And so where AI then comes in is it now makes the suggestions, whether you're writing traditional code or you're using a visual interface. At the end of the day, AI assists you in predicting what are you trying to say, naming a database table automatically.
And simplifying it, basically.
Yeah, simplifying it. Expressing, like with prompt engineering, with ChatGPT, expressing your need of what you want, and the AI giving you the boilerplate template for what you expressed, and then you can extend it.
So all of this must take a lot of time off writing the code, right? Because once you've got AI doing and assisting you, not only is it doing it more accurately, but it's doing it a lot faster.
Yeah, so Microsoft has got, they bought, I don't know if you're aware of it, they bought GitHub. And, so they, through having access to all of those code bases across the world, basically, they could start implementing a machine learning program to learn from contributions to those source codes, how long things take, how often commits happen, where mistakes is coming in, and then created this machine learning model that now is incorporated in what they call Copilot.
Yes.
So Microsoft Copilot, the Microsoft devs can now use that for a very low fee on a monthly basis to assist them, to make them probably 2 times more productive than they currently are.
So there's that constant disruption happening in every technological aspect of our lives today, which is absolutely fascinating. So Botha, at JustSolve, I mean, you guys obviously at the cutting edge of technology. You understand where the trends are, where the disruptions are. How do you guys stay at the cutting edge of AI? Because, you know, every day, I mean, I must be honest with you, even I struggle to keep up with what's happening, because there's always a new product coming out. I see ChatGPT's launched a new version. There's just so much happening. How do you guys stay ahead of the curve?
Thanks, Aki. It's not a one answer to that, but I think just by incorporating it into our day-to-day use cases. So currently we're using ChatGPT to help us with user experience design, creating ideas for our designs together with our ideas and user journeys. And so in informing the requirements for the customer, writing the user stories, doing marketing initiatives, doing the UX designs, we try and use these tools in our everyday lives and in our development day to day and our testing.
Yes.
To see the opportunities.
So you're using primarily ChatGPT. I mean, for what you just discussed,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because I mean, I was reading about this, and like all of these AI engines do different things. Like Claude would do something different to what ChatGPT do.
Yes.
And one of them does it better than the other, et cetera, et cetera. But ChatGPT seems to be the one that's kind of a good all-rounder.
Yeah, to be honest with you, we haven't played too much with Claude and the other ones at the moment. We are reading up about it. We're watching webinars on it, but we're using ChatGPT on a day-to-day basis, probably because they were the first to launch mainstream. So there's no right or wrong, but we continuously challenge ourselves to be innovative and to first understand the technology ourselves and to first do it in our own use cases before we try and advise customers. So it's a little bit of eating your own dog food. You know?
Yes. And you're probably stress testing this thing every single day to see what it can do.
Yeah, we try and do it as much as possible and where time allows. We also, looking towards the future of low-code and where that's going. There's a lot of AI initiatives in that space that is taking up a lot of our time as well, where we are part of early adoption programs.
Yes.
OutSystems is one of the low-code platforms of which we are a partner in South Africa, and they've got a project codenamed Morpheus. So,
yes, I've heard about it.
Yeah, so Project Morpheus, we were actually in Portugal 3 weeks ago at a conference there where they showcased the latest progress in the Project Morpheus saga. And just to give you an idea of what low-code can do for developer productivity, is it allows you to make your developers 3 to 10 times more productive than they currently are. And
much as that.
Yeah. And if you look at all of the stats across what it costs to refactor apps, what it costs to run apps on a cloud platform, the initial setup costs, time to market, and productivity, it all boils down to a 4 to 10 times ROI that executives can actually experience using these progressive technologies.
That's pretty impressive, eh?
Yeah. So given all of that, with Project Morpheus, they're predicting up to 100 times more productivity.
Wow.
So that's a 10x.
When do you think that? How soon do you think that would happen? Because it's growing so exponentially, you can't keep up with it.
No, you can't keep up with it. But it is something they didn't want to commit a timeline to because
yes,
the only thing that can go wrong when you have a project plan is the plan itself.
Exactly.
But they're predicting 3 to 7 years.
Wow,
yeah.
That's absolutely scary.
It's around the corner.
Yeah. So from your perspective, obviously, there's a great significance that AI and low-code development can play in a company's strategic, planning looking forward. Because if a company is not thinking about this right now, and you're not strategically focused on the future with AI, low-code, etc., you're going to be in trouble because I can promise you one thing: your competitors are doing this.
And you need to go back to the core of digital transformation, which is the customer. So it doesn't help you embark on an AI initiative, maybe from upskilling your team in terms of getting to know the technology, but how do you apply it? So you have to look at use cases to apply it for a better customer experience, probably first and foremost. So it's something often that companies might be missing, is that You've got some things within your organization that are standard.
Yes.
It's not unique to you. It's not common to you. So for that, you would use like a ERP, like a SAP or whatever the case is, which has got predefined industry standards and best practices. You don't want to go and change that for your company. You just want to adopt it and make it work for your company. But to change those systems are often expensive and time-consuming, and the resources are not necessarily available or within your company to actually do. And a lot of that is also fairly highly regulated depending on the industry you operate in. So it's important to always ask what is core to my business, what is common, and what is unique, and to focus the AI use cases and the low code where you want to rapidly innovate and get feedback on those what is unique to your business.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, and it's interesting you say that. I think that over the years, many businesses have added so many different layers that they sometimes lose focus on certain of those layers, and that ultimately affects the customer experience.
Yeah.
So if you can provide us some insights into how businesses, for example, can gain that competitive edge using and leveraging AI and, of course, low-code development. I mean, you touched on that hyper-automation earlier.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see the companies that are adopting hyper-automation and how many hours they save a month of doing those repetitive tasks, for example. And if you really look deep into an organization, you can always find a way of doing something better and more efficiently, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so let's use the use case of, let's say, RPA, where you might have an insurance brokering business where a lot of agents are needed to do a lot of things manually. Although the processes have been streamlined over many years, everything across all of the systems, as the company has evolved and maybe through acquisitions or otherwise, there's a lot of systems that are not talking to each other. So they're using 2 or 3 different...
Like, give me an example of that, like a practical example. Like, let's say I'm the customer, I'm taking out a short-term insurance or something. I come to you, it's done, captured digitally, and then it goes to another process. Then it's got to go to another process. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, and so let's say you've submitted your claim.
Yes. Claim's a great example.
Yeah. Now you can use AI to hopefully it's not paper-based, but if it was paper-based, it can extract with OCR and the rest. It can learn what format the paper is in, where the fields are, and it can extract the data and digitize it. But hopefully you've got an electronic process already. And then the AI can determine which route is the optimal route to take based on several factors. So it can go one route. But then let's say it goes to a manual route. Now you only have, let's say, 20 agents that can handle the claims processes manually that didn't go through the automatic process.
Yes.
How do you now scale those people? Because people work between 8 and 5 and then they go home. So you don't necessarily want to employ more people. That's what RPA comes in. So you can now set up agents that work throughout the night, 24/7, that does the work just like the human would have done it.
And it's more accurate.
There's no finger typos. There's no...
And of course, the amount of hours that you're gaining doing this, you don't have to have a human going through all of this. Or, I mean, that is a serious competitive advantage.
That is a serious advantage. And once you have settled and you can actually consolidate your systems or integrate them, then the RPA part will fall away.
Fair enough.
So, but definitely, it's a big advantage.
Look, we're making it sound pretty easy over here, but it's not as easy as it seems, right, Botha? I mean, the thing is, you've got to do it properly, and once you've done it properly, then it becomes quite easy, right?
Yeah.
But of course, with any kind of implementation, as you know, with your experience, there's always a challenge here and there. There's always a code that might not be correct in certain ways, or a piece of software, or you've got legacy systems running in your organization. What are those common challenges that you find when you consult with organizations when they're starting to say we're adapting to these AI solutions that have been proposed? What are the challenges, and how do you address those challenges?
Yeah, so firstly, I think it's very important to get the right consultancy to advise you, because we first and foremost, we are software developers, we are problem solvers.
Yes.
So all of our people come highly trained, and they come from a traditional software development background. So our architects can work across the enterprise landscape and understand how these different things fit together.
And understanding what the problems are, right?
Yes, and then in a consultative way, to consult around the problem before putting technology and tools. It's always people, process, technology, not the other way around.
It's so many times you see the mistake being made in there. Throw in the software, and then they expect the people to adapt.
Yeah,
the wrong way.
Yeah, and especially change management is very important in the adoption side. But if you think about blockchain, there was databases, centralized databases that had all of the advantages of blockchain without the decentralization. So the big claim to fame for blockchain was, or part of it initially was the fact that it's immutable, that you can't override the database. When the record's in there, it's in there. But there's many centralized databases that have the same features and have had it many years before blockchain. So don't try and find a problem to solve with a technology.
Right.
Do it the other way around. Understand the problem exactly like you're saying first, and then look at the ways that you know without risk that will work, and then only if one of the later or newer use cases like AI is a good fit, then you suggest it. So a lot of times it might be that the linear regression algorithm or a decision tree will solve your problem. You don't need an AI ML model. You don't need that necessarily. You don't need a decentralized blockchain.
But yeah, no, it makes complete sense. It's almost like we're doing a 360 here.
Yeah.
But, the promise that technologies like the blockchain present, those are fantastic technologies. And I think that they can be very useful if implemented correctly in the future. We spoke about that accelerating that software development process. Now, every organization has got some sort of software going in, and they're busy with something and they're developing something, etc. When you look at AI and low-code development, that obviously can, listening to our discussion, it can have a tremendous benefit on accelerating the development of software in your organization. You can now do things a lot faster than what you used to before, right?
Yeah, and the same with getting insights into your data, data that has been there for many years, that just needs to be cleaned up a bit and then mined, and ultimately getting some knowledge and insights and learnings out of the information you already have. So it can accelerate stuff, but it can also bring new ways of solving old problems and better ways of solving. Really? Like for instance, I think Naked Insurance is quite a good example of AI based company that started where they said that they're going to launch an insurance product that doesn't require any interaction with any people. So everything is automated from day one. It was a business that was started that way. That's why they call it naked, because you're not interacting with anyone. You don't have anything on. What's also interesting, they said that they're never going to advertise. It's only going to be word of mouth. But that was a couple of years ago when I met the guys that founded it in Johannesburg. But after that, I have seen some billboards on the highway.
Yes, I do.
So things change, and you have to adapt, and you have to put your brand out there. But the fact that you're still not dealing with any agents, still true to their promise. So there's use cases like that, new business models where you can run a very lean ship if you design it the right way from the start. That's what I mean by solving things in a different way, or solving things from ground up completely differently.
But what I'm hearing from you as well, Botha, is that you can't just implement something in the space that we're talking about with AI and low code, etc., and just leave it. You got to keep at it all the time. You got to keep changing it. You got to keep adapting it, because nothing stays static anymore.
I think about it with irrespective of the technology. I think about it as a product view versus a project view. So a lot of companies see it as a project. The project kicks off, you do the work, you leave, and it goes into maintenance mode. But the moment it's been in maintenance mode for 12 months, you've lost your competitive edge, because your competitors didn't stop. You need to keep on expanding. So you have to have a product mindset, a product view. What's the product roadmap? Where are we taking this? What are we adding next? Oh, we might be adding an AI chatbot. Great. But that has to be part of a product mindset and not a project mindset.
Yeah. And it's amazing when you undergo the journey that you're talking about now, you soon discover other revenue streams and you unlock tremendous value in an organization, which brings me to the point about the future. And I've read the stats out there, and I've spoken to a couple of CEOs as well, and they say that in the next 18 months, things like generative AI is going to impact 20% of the corporate world. And that's like being conservative. Now, they don't say that to scare people, but that's reality. In the context of what we've been talking about here today, it's not like you have to slow down and, AI must be... You can't do that, because if you don't do something, your competitors are doing something.
Yeah, and I think it's a balance. And if you're not continuously investing in it, you're definitely gonna fall behind the curve. And we are saying, let's work together. Let's get a roadmap and a plan together. Let's pull in the right people for the job. Let's start on working on some of these initiatives. And like you say, as you get closer and work together day to day, the solutions start presenting themselves.
Exactly. Botha, awesome chatting to you. Fantastic insights, and well done on your business. And I hope you guys grow from strength to strength. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Aki. Thank
There you go. That's Botha van der Vyver, who is the CEO and the founder of JustSolve. And I hope it adds a bit of context to what's happening out in the business world and how important it is to understand what an organization like JustSolve can bring to your business and the value that it can help you unlock in your organization. Give them a call.